Well, hello, welcome everyone to my research why it matters. And today, myself, I'm Matt Hall, Pranjal, Jain, Peter Daish, and Alex Blandin are going to be talking about Swansea University and sort of our involvement at CHI 2022. So first of all, what's a CHI? What is CHI? It's got the very lengthy name, the ACM CHI Conference on Human Factors in Computing Systems. I don't think the CHI actually stands for anything. It's just a nicer name than that. And basically, it is the kind of global premier computer science conference on human-computer interaction. So, you know, it conjures images of robots and humans touching, but it's a lot more about the design of the everyday and technology across all aspects of life, from, you know, just the mundane stuff like, you know, software on computers, to office technology, to medicine, to robotics, to manufacturing, to education. It's the whole gamut of technology in society, and it's kind of designing that to be more effective, more, you know, human-centered. That's the whole remit. Sorry, yeah, there you go. There's society as portrayed by that graphic. So CHI 22 is this year's edition of CHI. It's the first one back since the pre-COVID era that's been in person. This year it's in New Orleans, which is, of course, the party capital of the world, I think. This year's theme was cultivating communities. I think because we've all been so segregated over COVID, it was a nice sort of theme to bring everyone together. And what that means is everyone's submissions have a very, very loose, maybe slightly tenuous link to the theme of cultivating communities. So we see a lot of stuff about remote work and, you know, the new COVID kind of work protocols, stuff like that. A lot about group work and just kind of getting people together. There's a lot on conferencing, stuff like that. And specifically, we can show off a few of our department's contributions. As you can see, this is just some of the papers that have been published at CHI this year. And we've got a number of our academics currently in New Orleans attending CHI, which we'll get to in a hot minute. But you can see we've got stuff here from, obviously, there was a lot of work done by Jain, Simon, Matt, Gavin on public technology for COVID. So they were messing around with hands-free interfaces and stuff like that to avoid kind of, you know, COVID spread in public places. There's new formats for displays. There's a whole thing on UX. There's kind of arts. There's all kinds. There's a lot of theoretical stuff as well. There's been a lot of workshops. And on the topic of workshops, I'd like to hand over to Pranjal, where he can talk about his involvement at CHI, which has been pretty cool, actually.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, I'm Pranjal, and could we go to the second? Yeah. So I, along with other collaborators across the world, submitted a couple of workshop papers in the CHI. So for the audience who are not aware about the CHI, so CHI does not only accept the full paper, which are, but these have late-breaking workshop papers, or alternative papers as well. So in the future, if you are interested, do not just think about submitting the full-length paper, but there are multiple options for you to submit, and there is always an openness in the CHI community to submit the early stage work. So in that regard, we submitted 2 papers in one EduCHI conference, which talks about largely how HCI pedagogy should how it should be and how we could improve. And in that case, we submitted the first paper, which talks about how HCI knowledge is disseminated in South Asia. Second, we submitted the workshop in context, which talks about how we could design new softwares which could focus on, apart from just sketching, how could we bring 5 senses such as smell and other things back into the prototyping tools. So that was the second paper, which is on donor economy, and we talked about how we should think about sustainability and how sustainability should be part of the designer process at large. And that's where the second paper comes in. We could move to next slide now. So this is another paper, another panel which we conducted, and this happened yesterday on 4th of May, virtually in Kai. And this is another thing which from the department were able to bring a couple of collaborators across the world, and it was a person from Brazil, India, Pakistan, USA, UK, to talk about how digital financial services impact our daily life and what are the opportunities and challenges at this present moment. And we were also able to talk about how equitably we should think about our digital world. And this particular is also important because we were able to have the translation, the knowledge could transfer from global north to global south at large, the developed countries and the emerging nations, how the pros and cons from the emerging countries could travel to the developed countries, and from there how we should and how the developed countries should think about redesigning their digital financial services, because it impacts us on daily basis. Yeah, and we could move to next slide now. So I would hand over to Matt for this point, but we are also thinking about curating a list of papers as per our interest. Yes. You're muted, Matt.
Sorry. I got started on this week because I thought it would be useful for particular disciplines. So in my case, healthcare and medicine, to have their own kind of central resource to kind of just look at Kai at a glance and see all of the research and the workshops and what have you all in one place, to make it a bit more easy to digest, I think, because it's a little bit difficult going into like a conference that you might not know all too much about, and trying to pass any potential papers and work that you think is really applicable to you. So I've started this collaborative document, which is just kind of collating all of the healthcare medicine, clinician, patient, all the words that are to do with medicine, all into one document to just to make it easy to find. So I can share that at the end as well. You can email me, and I can send that over. It's open for editing as well. So yeah, I think we plan to do more of these, definitely. There's a good few different kind of themes in the department, at least, which would benefit from having a kind of centralized document like this. Cool. Back to Pranjal.
Yeah, we could move on to the next slide, which is kind of cool stuff, where we would be able to showcase a couple of photos. So currently in New Orleans, these are the people who are there at Kai in person, who are presenting the work done at Swansea Uni. So first we have Jennifer Pearson, then Anna Carter. She is in her third year of her PhD. And we have Simon, Matt Jones as well, we could see. So so if you see, and the other part was that they were supposed to have the mask put on when they're in person. So still some part of the COVID could be seen. COVID could be seen there, in the sense that we have to still use mask in person. So that was not so great, but yes, it's still happening. Over to you, Peter, for talking about how things were in Swansea for the Kai 2022.
Yeah, thank you, Pranjal and Matt. So as Matt mentioned earlier, New Orleans is the party capital of the world. And we thought, well, we're not really enjoying much of that over here in Swansea. So why don't we bring some over? So in the spirit of Kai, we set up some posters and some screens across the university to showcase those of us who are attending the conference virtually and who couldn't attend in person, what it is we're doing as a university department in disseminating our research through Kai and so on and so forth. And so we set up this Swansea Virtual Kai 2022 so that we could expand people's knowledge of the conference and sort of showcase our department's willing to promote it moving forwards. So Pranjal and I have been in the university, and Matt and Alex, since bank holiday weekend, all through the afternoon into late evening due to the time difference between here and the States. Just watching showcases, looking at papers, and in general, trying to bring people into to the community as we see them approach us. And through the day, around lunchtime-ish, we've organised for meals to be given to people who come and attend. And there will be another one today, I think around 12:30. So if you're watching this live as opposed to on YouTube, please come into the COFO, to the Crucible, and have some sandwiches and some brownies and some coffee for lunch, and come and discuss Kai with us. And yeah, we'll be happy to converse with you about what's been going on and what's going to happen today in this afternoon's proceedings. So go to the next slide, please, Matt.
And also to mention, today is kind of the last day.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So feel free to join in and talk about it.
Yes, yes.
The whole purpose of the theme of the Kai 22 is cultivating communities, and if you could do that here at Swansea, and that has been happening from last couple of days as well. So today we could have more people in person and talk about. Over to you, Peter.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if you're watching on YouTube, come next year, or come to another conference that we're going to host a virtual assessment of. So moving on from virtual Kai, the main events, this is another workshop that is Kai affiliated, but is not part of the main event this week. That's going to be taking place next week, which is on human-centered explainable AI techniques, and also studies revolving around explainability in AI terms, and how humans kind of perceive explainability techniques, whether they're useful, whether they're not particularly useful. Alex on the stream today is going to be presenting as of, I think, next Thursday, is it, Alex, or Friday? One of those 2 days. And I'm also going to be in attendance. And since Alex is here, Alex, would you mind just giving us a bit of a demonstration as to what your work is at the bottom left here?
Yeah, so I suppose just a small bit that just leads up to my work would just be fleshing out a little bit more of what HCXAI is meaning in the context of the work I'm doing, and then explaining the work. So we'll be the workshop itself takes place Thursday and Friday next week, and it'll be taking place over both of the days in, again, the afternoons onwards, because we're having to deal with the time zones in New Orleans compared to here. So it's going to be interesting. But one of the interesting things about this conference, and why I submitted to this particular workshop in particular, is just that when we're dealing with a lot of AI research right now, there's been an awful lot of work into creating some of the most incredible pieces of software technology in the world, in terms of just the pure capability of what we're able to get out of machines now, the things we're able to see with robotics, with computer vision, and all of these really advanced systems that have, in some cases, starting to get to that superhuman level of capability. And it's really quite something. But there's an unfortunate, almost no man's land in between that research and reality right now, which is due to the fact that a lot of these systems are just so unfathomably complex and dense that humans don't actually understand what's going on inside of them, which means that when you're starting to do anything with higher stakes than playing a game, the trust in such a system starts to break down a little, because it can't explain its decisions to us. So as a field, XAI has come in like I suppose the gallant knight on a steed. But unfortunately, one of the issues that I have found in the field right now is that it's really something that's only being leveraged fully by the existing ML engineers, the people who are already making these systems, and they're not using it to its full capacity to actually explain these things to regulators, to government bodies, and to normal people. And so this is where this workshop and my work in particular align really closely, is that I'm much more interested in actually starting to push beyond what has already been done in terms of creating some of the very nice visuals for explanations that go, oh yes, no, we can actually trust this because we can show that in general, its performance on most people is really good. We don't see anything in terms of bias towards perhaps gender in some cases. And we can start to explain away a lot of the concerns that we might have had with a system. But the issue is, it requires an expert to explain them and interpret these kinds of graphics and interpret all of the data that's coming out of these explanations. And so starting to put together a system that is more human-centered, is something that is more approachable, is very interesting. And this is what a lot of the work within this workshop really is trying to push forward. Mine in particular has been based on a participatory design process. So actually taking the design work of this out to the users, in this case for the Starling mobile banking app, and actually having them take part in the actual design process of the AI and its decisions. Now, naturally, most people, if I were to start talking about convolutional neural networks, the details fly over their heads. But that doesn't mean that they can't put in place standards and expectations that designers should live up to. And so this is where it's been quite interesting, in that they actually put forward the quite obvious, if you actually don't sit inside the research ivory tower, that an explanation should be short and simple. It should be succinct, a couple bullet points, but that means text. And the current research hasn't really gone into that area. It's actually quite new land for it as the field. So I actually have shown in this work that perhaps while it looks quite an intimidating challenge on the surface, perhaps it's not as difficult as it seems. And from at least the studies I've done, it actually seems to pay off remarkably well, because people find it immediately actionable as an explanation. They actually understand what it's saying and can start to do something with it, whether it's making financial plans of their own or starting to arm themselves with the information so that they can talk with then a human instead of the machine, and actually start to resolve some of the issues that perhaps they find in the process. So it's been a really interesting process in getting this to the workshop. As I said, I'll be presenting on Thursday and Friday. So hopefully there is still a sign-up period for those who may want to attend. But otherwise, hopefully this means that there will be some more research that spawns out of this kind of work out into the future of the fields. And naturally, I'm continuing this on right now with some more studies that are currently underway or being planned. So yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so that's still to come. Please do come along to that. I'm sure it'll be on in the Foundry, as we have been doing Swansea Virtual Chi. That's about it for us today. I don't know whether the other speakers have got anything to add.
And basically, thank you for all joining here for this presentation, people who are joining live and who are going to watch on the YouTube. And one of the things to give away for people who is watching this particular stream is Kai acknowledges a gamut of the field, which most of the people in the department in larger part of the university could think about submitting their work. And this also brings the community across the world, whether it is America, Europe, UK, Asia, Australia, or South America. And this also gives a chance to interact and talk about, and it also gives an impact of our work which we do at the university. So do feel free to think about for the next year. The next year, Kai is going to happen in Germany, Hamburg, so which is pretty closer to us, and we could think about going there and talk about the work done in Kai 23 from Swansea Uni. So thank you all. Back to you, Matt, if there are any larger part.
Yeah. Yeah, super quick point. Pranjal's absolutely right. I'm looking at you, other faculties. If you're using technology, get in touch with us, because this is exactly what Kai is all about. It's multidisciplinary. It's open to everyone. Yeah, it's technology in every aspect of life. So please do. Yeah, thanks for listening.
The larger shout out I would love to bring, if Deepak is still on the stream, would love to bring him on board and would ask him to share his experience, because he has been also submitting papers. So Deepak could also help us in understanding us as students at uni, how to submit, what to do. And in any case, if any students or wants to reach out to us, we are feel free and we are open to talk to and help in working for our paper. Or otherwise, we could close the stream. Yeah, Deepak is here. Yeah.
So I can quickly add that like it's a good idea that you are trying to put together a list of papers that are interesting to you. What is interesting will be that to discuss later the papers that are interested to individuals, why they were accepted. I think Kai is the best conference in our field, but to get accepted, it's my personal feeling is the writing. You know, the presentation, how we present in a way that kind of inspires or motivates the field. And so it's not about just presenting our work, it's about giving a direction where human-computer interaction, new technologies should go. So showing that leadership quality in presentation. So it will be quite interesting if we have follow-up sessions where we discuss like maybe we can say seminal papers from this year and see why they were like that. So yeah, so about attending Kai virtually, I signed up, but unfortunately I've not been able to attend many talks, and we could see the short talk anyway, so I had already watched the short talks that I was interested in before, and just attended the talks where I had some questions for the authors, which has been great. So that's also nice that we can watch not only the 30 second, maybe a few minutes of the short talk, 6 or 8 minutes of an hour full talk maybe in the future, if you want. Okay.
Thank you, Deepak. And that is also what Matt has also started doing. So his interest is in medicine. So he has started curating a list of papers which are good, and these are seminal papers getting published. So yes, we could do that, and feel free to make different open documents which could be shared in the university among us, between the academics and within the students' body. So I think we could close the stream now, and thank you, Matt, Peter, Alex, for joining in, and thank you, Deepak, for joining us in the last moment. So having a Kai virtually, and so basically at large, we are really doing Kai hybrid. There are some people in person, and we are all here joining virtually. So it's a whole hybrid experience which is happening currently.